Oh, there it goes.
I
Okay, well,
got, I show a little eyeball there.
yeah, we're in. But let me go into YouTube
Yeah.
and I'll share it to
Okay.
Facebook.
There you go.
Man, that sucks. It's weird. Very strange. It's one thing for one of them. Clear connectivity. Uh, let's see here. Okay, so let me
This
get.
is going to be a potent one, Todd.
Is it? Let's make it.
It is.
Make it potent.
I mean, I have no choice.
Hmm.
It was the whole reason why everything happened, and it's why we're here.
I don't understand why this doesn't have a. God, what a cluster F you know what. So okay, well we're just gonna have to work with what we have. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's showing that we're. Let me find it. Yeah, it just shows live stream. Let's see how this is working. Okay, we got 8 people in the house.
Hmm.
Let me share it to Facebook. Boom. Okay. And from there, I can share it. 10 people and 3 thumbs up. I've never seen that before. All right.
Yeah, I warmed him up. I went on live while we were waiting, and I told him to go to YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Good idea. Damn, this pisses me off. Okay, I'm gonna type in here. All right. So we'll do Soul Speaks 5D and Harold. Harold. There we go. Boom. So I changed the name so they can see that it's. Let me put this in soulogy. Let me put this on Soulogy One Studios page. Boom. All right. Well, we got 10 people in the house. We've never done this before. We got big Papa Samoas in the house.
Oh, yeah. That's
Okay.
Sean.
Sean. Okay. Big Papa Samoa.
Yeah.
So, all right, we
Hmm.
got. Oh, let me close the door so we don't have any interruptions. Ah. So, how's everything
I
going,
kicked the
man?
family out.
You did.
I kicked the family out of the house. They're at the park. Um, Before we were to come on, I had everything prepped. I even wrote notes for myself, and I smelled something going in to check on my daughter's room, and it smelled very familiar. And I was like, that usually comes from my restroom. What's it doing over here in my boy's room? And I told mom, I was like, hey, I think you need to go check in there. And so, yeah, we busted one of our boys smoking pot just a little while ago. He's 15 with his friend.
We've all been
So
there.
that's what I was dealing with. I was like, come on, really, guys, of all days, like I told y'all, this was very important for me. This is important for our family. This is important for humanity, this message that I'm heralding in. And so it's just par for the course, though, and technical difficulties and the whole 9 yards. This is a lot of fun.
Well, tell us where you're coming from, or you want to start with tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna like skim through the about myself. I listened to your interview time before, or a couple times ago with Kim, and then with Claudia, and I met Claudia, and a lot of us are speaking the same stories, and in a sense dreaming the same dreams, and a lot of us are also walking around and wondering, okay, like I'm getting all this guidance, but where is it leading to, and what's the tangible action steps to be made? And we've been following this like cosmic alignment and all these things, but I come in as a practical spiritual advisor and community activist. I made it up.
You
because I
made that
couldn't,
up.
I didn't want to go to school and get a, yeah, I didn't want to get a degree. And, to be a life coach, you just have to like kind of figure some stuff out, and you don't technically have to have all these certifications and stuff. The proof is in the pudding, and the words that I speak, and the way that I speak them, and the way that I honor the people around me and listen to their stories. Because an active and open and complete throat chakra is not just the expression, it's the listening of
Mm,
expression.
mm.
And so some of my codes, because I do want to be like as transparent as possible, but I did again wanted to skim through this. All right, and everybody, please out there, remember to take deep breaths as we go through this, because I can be like fuel. And when your flame is already lit, I don't want to douse too much fuel, and you need the oxygen to keep this engine going. And I want to focus this flame that's inside of your heart into a laser-like focus, but also patient and very flowy like a river. So I may bounce around a little bit, but take deep breaths and keep up. All right, so here we go. So I was born on 11/22/77 at 11 p.m. on the dot. And I had my awakening 11 years ago at the age of 33. And I'm 44 now in the year of 2022. So what are some of the cool notes for 77 for movies? Close Encounters of the Third Kind came out. And, with the world that we're living in and how we're doing these CE5 meditations now, and it's part of my story as who I am now. Star Wars came out in 77. Mysteries of the Gods with William Shatner on Aaron von Daniken's work came out in 77. We also had November 26th, the Southern television broadcast was infiltrated or taken over by Verlon from the Galactic Federation of Light in
Was that
1977.
was
So,
that the one that was on British TV?
yeah, where it's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something.
I don't remember, but I remember, and I remember seeing it again just a
Yeah.
couple of months ago, and I was wondering if that was legit. You know what I mean? But
So for me, it feels legit with the cadence and how it has maneuvered itself into my world. And honestly, we can put whatever we want on pretty much anything, right? Like we can kind of program our own experiences and things, for one person may not serve them in the same way it serves us. So
right,
whatever way it serves us, that's how it has worked for me. If it was someone that came in and like hijacked and it was just a scam and, it was a hoax, good on them. They assisted in my ascension and it's part of my story.
of
So
course,
I'll
yeah.
find them one day. And
Well, and there's always
so,
there's always
you
the
know,
yin yang, right? There's always two sides to it. So
absolutely.
you could
There's always the
say,
balance.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. Go ahead.
Mhm. So some of the other stuff in me is, I did come from a broken family. My parents split up before I could remember them being together. Did have some paranormal activities in my life as a child, with like, paranormal, like ghosts, and something looked like a witch at one time when I was a little kid playing in the back laundry room with my Dukes of Hazzard, car. And so there were things that happened young on, when I was very young that kind of put me into this place of like this quantum realm of the metaphysical and the physical, and knowing like there's more out there than what meets the eye. And I had a really crazy experience around the age of 11 or 12 here in San Antonio is where I'm at. I was, either staying with my father on summer times, or we were living here at the age of 12 when I moved here at 12. But there was a freaking spider being like 4 feet like in diameter, and it had a human head, and I could see it like I see, just anybody standing in front of me, and it was positioned in the top corner of the bedroom. And it, the only feeling that I got from it was that it wanted to hurt my family. And I felt cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because I couldn't go into the room and tell my father I'm looking at this spider being with a human head on it. And I didn't want to go in the room, so I was stuck in between in this hallway, bawling my eyes out, thinking this thing's going to hurt my family, but not knowing who to talk to and who to turn to. And so that was like a really crazy experience that happened, also very young in my life.
I'm just curious because I have read a few accounts that seem to be, credible. I mean, as much as anything can be credible. But there's a there's a couple of pretty strong narratives about the spider beings in the connection with the Vietnam War. Like a huge portal or Stargate opened, and there was this big thing going on or whatever. But and then what was the other thing you were saying? Okay, so you had the experience with the spider. So did you ever get? Did you ever have any feeling, or beyond the feeling that you told us about? Did you ever like talk to it?
Later, I had a friend do a QHHT hypnosis, and it took me there. I don't remember exactly how we got there, but my imagination, my memory took me back to that time. And what I was seeing at that time was almost like the Pixar movie, Monsters, Inc.
Right.
And it was almost like they had created these beings to scare children.
Right.
But if you can really dive deep into it, some of these beings didn't want to be created. Like
Right.
they were like human centipede, like they fixed them together and they're sitting there all figured and, portaling in and out to scare children. And how many children did they scare? And by this time I'm well into my awakening, and this is only maybe like a year and a half ago max.
So
And
this is kind of when
this quantum
you kind of started to make sense of it when you went back into it.
Yes. Right. And so what I was able to do by diving into that conscious awareness, oh wow, if they did this and then they would portal these things in, then I get to access each of the children that was scared and rewrite the story.
Right.
And then adjust that, like diving into this, like a web where you can send your consciousness into and adjust these, the harmonics within the web and create a new oscillation. And so that's what it felt like I was doing. And not even for just the children, but also for all the beings that were devised for that manner.
Right.
Right. So if they were all created and some are, they're wheeling around with one leg and one arm and they're just barely surviving off of fear, then, to put them out of their misery
Right.
Was what I was doing with revisiting that.
Yeah. There's a couple things here to unpack. One is, I don't know if your dad was in the military or a government contractor.
He was.
Okay.
20 years.
Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you this because I've had, like a lot of people, a lot of memories coming back, and a while back was having some come back from my childhood. Now, my dad was with the government, and that's probably not even relevant about what I'm about to say, but others that I've come across over the last few years, when I've talked to him, even like the last 10 years, whenever I got on social media, when I came off the street. But what I noticed is a lot of people I've run into as children that have had these types of episodes, and some of the things that I was remembering about my childhood in this naval station that we used to go to. But and mine aren't picture perfect clear, but there's still some fuckery or something. And it's like government, military related. But what I've noticed over the years when I started like interacting with people in 2013, and then of course doing shows, is a lot of the people that were young that had an event like this. I mean, I'm telling you, almost, I don't know how many people I've asked or listened to, but let's just say 50, and I'll bet you 47 or 48 of them, their father was in the military. And so there's always, and a lot of them would be in the, of course, San Antonio's at one time was a very heavily military-based community. It had 5 bases.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all that desolate area down in South Texas, like where I'm from, there's a lot of stuff that you could question there. I mean, and we don't have to get into it, but I guess, have you had any feeling like that there was some kind of connection between the lineage, your father, his predecessor, and you, that
resonates.
Okay. I just wondered.
It does. It feels like that, everything obviously happens for a reason. So even the light is put into these places. And I think if, they were using Project Looking Glass, they could see ahead and be like, oh man, they're about to impregnate this woman through our military guy, this higher, and so let's send out because we're stuck in, we're put in these places for a reason,
Hmm.
to do such work. And, we can't be stifled. And that's kind of the thing is, no matter how much they're trying, we're finding ways to use what they put against us.
Right.
And so that's how I'm able to heal my counterparts and get in there and really restructure and rework and re-oscillate and adjust timelines myself.
So when did you start working with people, like with these children that were exposed to the spider being?
That night, that day, the
That
QHHT is what dove me into it. And
okay.
so, I feel like I'm able to adjust these things just by the awareness.
Right.
And then that immediate heart string connection creates the harmonics.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I let it do its thing.
Yeah. This is interesting stuff. And just a question on QHHT, and I know there's other versions or spin-offs of that. I think
Hmm.
BQHHT and so on. And I'm not throwing shade on anybody. I'm just curious because everything's changing so rapidly. But like for someone who
Hmm.
had that type of event with the QHHT that really opened you up, um, what would you say to the statement that you and I, that because of the way things are now, it's possible that we could, or a person could, achieve what you achieved in a full-blown QHHT session through just a simple session of two souls opening up their fields with some intention, like say for instance to dive into, your consciousness and your multidimensionality. Do you think that I guess what I'm saying is, do you think that we have to stick with those types of regressions and stuff, or that we might be able to do these things even through a conversation with each other and relying on our own instinct
Absolutely.
and innate abilities?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is the grand reflection game. And so all that my friend was doing for me was offering a reflection of his experiences and what he'd learned. I honored that, and
Right.
I was able to ride those carrier waves of harmonics through his heart. And this is how we're all connected. We're all one soul, right?
Right.
So if we're all one soul, all we're doing is just playing this grand reflection game and wanting to see each other.
Hmm.
Like we're begging. This is how I've been lately. I've been on this martyr frequency, and it's in my human design. I run these experiments, and sometimes they don't work out to what would be perceived as successful. But lately, holy moly, it comes full circle, and the way it comes back is just in the most magical and beautiful ways. And yeah, we're running a coherent harmonic oscillation right now.
Wow.
You were going to say something?
No, no, no. I was just listening. I was just listening.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I want to get to where we left off with the spider being, and I want to try to get us to the map.
All right.
So we have a cosmic X. I feel like a spiritual pirate. I found it the day after a successful CE5 meditation. And so I'm going to skim through the rest of this real quick because there's some things that tie us together, Todd, that through people. So at 17 years old is when I started experimenting with marijuana and psychedelics. Had a very amazing experience with LSD the very first time with this stuff called Alice in Wonderland. Super vivid, amazing, saw vortexes in the sky and stuff. And so that was amazing. And then around the age of 18, me and a buddy of mine, we did see some lights over San Antonio, a large craft, and it seemed to be mixed with my own thoughts because when we were driving towards it, coming down this hill, McCullough Avenue,
I know where that is.
towards right towards my house on Jackson Keller. We lived in the
Oh.
apartments right there, Lady Esther Apartments. And so we're coming down towards downtown, and I see this. I guess it's either three. There's one in the middle, and then there's like five lights, and it's in triangle, and it's coming towards us, and it's like cobalt blue circles. And I'm looking at it. I look over my buddy, and he's looking at it. Then we look at each other and we're like, dude, do you see this shit? He's like, yeah, what the fuck is that? And we're like, fuck it, I'm gonna haul ass. And I'm like, all right, when McCullough's like real bumpy at that time, it still is. And we're coming down, and right at the street that I'm supposed to turn on to get to my apartment, Jackson Keller, it fucking turns right there. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna chase it down my street. And it got behind some trees, and before you know it was gone. And we're like, what was that? Like, that was one of my first, like, kind of an experience that it serves a purpose of, there was a conscious communication and connection, because I saw them turn when I had the thought, ooh, that's my street right there, and they did it. And so, and that was that for that experience. And then also a part of what your stories, Todd, is, I know younger in life you were in and out of jail, and so around that time, 17, 18, when I was experimenting with marijuana, I got busted a few times, probation, pissed dirty, in and out of jail. About 19, I got hooked on heroin. Wow. Till 2005, and I didn't realize that I actually got clean on my Saturn's return at 28. I was like, wow, okay, because I heard all this stuff about the Saturn's return. I'm like, hold on, when was that? 2005. Oh shit, that's right. I got cleaned off of heroin in 2005. Well, that's cool. And then at 30, I had my first child, my daughter, Sadie Nadine, and 33 had my awakening. Me and her mother were going through a separation, and with what her mom bringing another guy around sooner than what I mentally, emotionally thought would be the best for her, because of my own childhood and my mother and things like that. I was like, no, I don't want her to see her parent go through one person to the next. And luckily her mom is still with that guy, Joseph, and they're engaged, and my daughter loves him and has a stepsister, and it worked out amazing. But cool. I went to sleep the night that I found out crying, and I prayed to the universe, and I said, please help me, point me in the right direction. And the next day I went into work at a call center, and I got a call from a lady named Joni Eisinger out of New Jersey. And we get to what she does for work, and she's like, well, I'm a spiritual healer. I don't know how you can put that in a book. I used to be a social worker. I don't know what Columbia University friends are going to think about that. And I'm like, all right, we'll roll with it. And I was like, but can you tell me more? Because I prayed for you last night. And she said, well, okay, are you ready for me to open Pandora's box? And I still have the scratch paper that has all the notes, and everything from here down is all notes that she gave me. It was books to read: David Wilcock, The Power of Intention; Edgar Tolle, The Power of Now; Magenta Pixie on YouTube.
What year was this?
This was 2010, late 2010. And it's funny too, because there's synchronicities on the paper. It says 10/22/10. And that's literally a month before my birthday, because I was born on 11/22. So it's right. What were you doing then?
10/22/10. I was.
Were you in Corpus still?
I was in Houston. I was heading into the deep dive that would culminate on 30th May, 2011.
Yes. Of 2011.
So I was
That's when you had yours?
I was heading into well, I was already having things happen. I had a Kundalini. I had a couple of Kundalinis when I was in my 20s. Scared the hell out of me, the second one, so I shut it down. But I had another one. I would say probably. When did you say October? I'd say probably.
That's when the scratch paper says, but October. That means I had that paper for about a month, so it had to happen right about November. In November.
Yeah, I would say that I had a Kundalini experience in October, November of 2010. I do remember that very distinctly. And also I remember, it's interesting because of the dates that you have too, because this month, 10 years ago, was a huge month. I'd been on the street for probably about 4 months, and I was trying to get myself clean, and I started selling meat door to door with all the undesirables, which was a beautiful thing. I don't say that in any way.
Were you in Corpus or Houston doing that?
I was in Houston, and but some really major, like as the weather was changing in October, like right about this time, just some really things really ramped up a lot for like the next couple of months. Like I'm talking apparitions, telepathy, intuition that was just profound, like magic things, right? So that was a powerful period for you too, as well, I guess.
It was. It was. I mean, I was literally speaking in this shift, and then it came in the form of Joni Eisinger, as I call her my spiritual awakener,
Mm.
because she literally gave me this three-quarters of a page. And that night, I dove in. And if you're familiar with human design, I've been diving into it deep lately. But my design with my profile, I'm a 1-3, which is an investigator and the experimenter slash martyr. And so it's literally the Christ consciousness frequency or oscillation that you hold to martyr yourself. And I'm pretty sure you probably got that 3-line or a 6-line
I
in
don't
your
know.
profile. I
I
want
don't
to
know.
see your. I'll get that from you later.
I've done it
But
before, but
because you
I
were
can.
born in Corpus.
Yeah, I was born in Corpus.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. That's how I got the tickets from you. We did an
I
activation in
remember.
Corpus on
Yeah.
8/8, and I
Okay.
met a homeless guy down there by the name of Christopher.
Uh huh.
And he was down there holding down the light and telling me that Corpus was a portal. And we were there literally connecting with the waters. It was just an amazing, I mean, we practiced, my partner and I, what we've been doing, and I didn't realize this until recently, is we've been practicing sex magic. And we've been going into sacred sites and saying nodal points
In a
and making
positive,
love.
yeah, positive sex
Yeah.
magic. Yeah.
Yes, but just basically what you're doing when you are honing in your awareness on this, you're putting bliss in place in nodal points,
Right.
right?
Right.
And in coagulated points, you're putting bliss there. And if you know that all is one and one is all, then you can resonate that through the entire stream of existence. And so, consciously, multidimensionally, quantumly, that's what I've been doing. And I'm now realizing that because of my human design, because of really retracing my steps and being like, holy shit, I've been running a fucking pattern this whole time. And I see all of my other reflections running patterns, and all of y'all are talking the same thing gathered along the solar eclipse X, and y'all don't even know it because Mulberry
Oh no,
Mountain is on that X.
I know it is.
Like you
I've,
were,
I
you were
actually
literally calling Sedona
be, well,
over there, and I was doing the same thing.
I found out about that X about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Same,
I think
same.
I think Julie Dara Roberts was the one that pointed it out to me. Somebody pointed it out to me, and
Mm-hmm.
so that I think that's really significant. And I know that what happened on Mulberry
Yes,
Mountain was huge, of huge
absolutely.
astronomic proportions. But I wanted to ask you because I don't want to forget, and then keep going. But
Yeah.
in regard to the CE5,
Yes.
Dr. Stephen Greer's method of
Protocol.
contacting close encounters of the fifth kind, which, if anyone doesn't know that real quick, it's a group of people that will, and you could even do it as an individual, that will basically call forth the ships. And a lot of times they'll go to places where they know they're going to be, and then they will communicate with them telepathically. And there's quite a bit of interesting information out there on it. Now, I was just wondering, because my daughter and I, we had an incident one after Izzy. It was Izzy. And she was probably like
Yeah.
13 years old or 12 years old. We walked outside, and there was two of them. There was a red one and a green one, and we both looked at the same time and acknowledged it at the same time, like you and your friend. And then they dropped down, came together, turned yellow, and took off. So there seemed
Nice.
to be, for me, it seemed to be, and there's been other things, but it seemed to be that there was some type of conscious communication, that the human part of me was, and Izzy was like going, almost like that was for
Mhm.
us. So having had the experience that you had with your friend and experiencing some level of apparent telepathy with that craft, when you've done the CE5 that you referred to earlier, when you do that, do you feel the same type of resonance or sensitivity, telepathy, intuition, or say oneness with the craft?
Well, we had them hanging out with us on the ground for 2 hours. That's what happened at the end of the harmonic convergence 2020, July 14th. We went to Kerrville, Texas. A friend of mine invited me, and I didn't use the Stephen Greer protocol other than I took some drums and bowls and we meditated.
Yeah.
But we had things flying around in the sky, and I went to put one of my big old buffalo drums on the bed of my friend's truck, and there was 8 of us. That includes Violet Ray Sunshine. She was only 2.5 weeks old. And I set it down and I looked into the tree line, and I see this white blinking light, and it's blinking at me. And my mind put it in a weird order and said, you know what? That's just a reflection of my friend's alarm light that's blinking red, and it's reflecting off of that tree. And I said, and I walked away. And then we looked up in the sky and everything calmed down. And then one of the girls that was there, she goes, but what about those lights on the ground? I'm like, oh yeah, those fucking lights. And so the lights on the ground, and I don't know how my mind put it from red to white, and tree bark doesn't reflect that way.
Right.
And it was shining bright, but it was the size of your fingertips, little rectangles with a black line down the middle. And they were together and they were just zipping through the trees. And now all of us have taken our eyes off the skies and we're looking at the tree line, and they're just going through the trees and like really crazy movie-esque. They would light up the inside of the trees as they were coming through about chest high, and they would just stayed at the edge, maybe 10, 20, 15 feet away, and they just blinked at us. Blink, blink, and then they would back off.
And this was a group of people that consciously intended to conduct this CE5. And
I'm gonna let some of their names out.
And they, so to speak.
Yeah, these are my friends.
And the ships, so to speak, met you there. So in your mind, there, I'm assuming there must be some level of understanding from yourself that they came to meet y'all, which would have
now Rion.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You've talked to Rion de Rowan.
Yeah.
Team Light.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's in my story because right after I had my awakening is when I found him on YouTube, and he gave some word out at one time. He said, "Look, just be ready. When you get the call, just go into the woods and they're going to meet you there." And that was fucking years ago. That was like 2014, 15, I don't even know, 16. And I didn't even remember. I felt like I was going to get a personal call, and I would just, everybody's asleep, let me get the fuck out of the house and go meet them, in the woods. But no, I got a personal invite from the guy that does the security cameras for Viva H2O, which is an alkaline water store here in town. They were the only ones for a long time. And the family, most of them, for the most part, are into this like spiritual stuff. And that's why I would vibe with the guys that work there and some of the owners. And so I sacrificed pay big time to go work for them because I believed in water and what that can do and holding a cellular memory. And it started leading people to me. And so the security guy's like, dude, after I had already been laid off and everything, he's like, hey, I want to invite you. Can you lead a C5 meditation? I know you got the bowls and this and that. And I just went. I was like, fuck yeah, I went. I responded. And that was the call. And Violet Ray Sunshine being 2.5 weeks old. And I have a whole conception story with her on how my partner and I conceived her on a healthy dose of LSD, and I literally saw her holographic pyramid body go into my partner after a simultaneous climax, and while I was still attached to her, it was a whole thing, like conscious and like it was. I did a breath work and movement like this. I went and I was like, what the. And then I fell on her and I said, I believe we conceived a new reality. And her name is Violet Ray Sunshine. I'm very intentional with everything I do, with my breath, my walk, my talk, how I see people, how I do everything, my whole business and everything. I don't work for anybody else anymore for the last few years. I've programmed my world to be such a way where my partner, I don't know how we manifest to get money. We hemorrhaged money over the last few months. And I don't know how we're still afloat. But we're afloat, and it mind numbs me because that's not the thing that I do. I don't do the financial things. The 3D world is not my thing. My partner handles a lot of that, and that's how we balance our negative and our positive and stuff. So but Rion had put that word out. Yeah, go ahead.
He put the word out for what? To you?
To go when you got the call.
Oh,
to
when
just
you got the
go
call.
out in the hill country and yeah.
So let me ask you. I'm just curious, and there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious because I don't think anybody
Right.
really knows anything, especially me.
Hmm.
But there, like a lot of us, I did a lot of research in the early years. Of course, a lot of people 9/11, and then you start tracking different things, and so on and so on. But
Hmm.
I think there's a pretty strong case that sometime before World War II, after World War One, Germans, Nazis, whatever you want to call it. You can talk about Aldebaran and the I forget the Thule Society, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway,
Hmm.
that technology had been opened up to a pretty strong degree. And we talk about Admiral Byrd and
Yes.
Antarctica and Nazis and the ships that flew over the White House in 44 or
Hmm.
45, or
Hmm.
the Battle of Los Angeles. I mean, there's so many different ones that we just never talk about. But my feeling, like I don't know how do I say this. I just want to get your perspective on, because of your experience. Do you think that these ships that we're seeing are made here on the Earth? Do you think they come from somewhere else, or both? Because my thing about coming from somewhere else, I don't think they would be metal ships. I don't think they would be even physical properties by our
Hmm.
understanding or our comprehension. But I'm just curious. I
Right.
just like to see what people think. What do you think? Are you thinking that those ships that you've interacted with the CE5 when you were 17 or whatever, uh, that they were off-planet ships that had some kind of connection with you?
That I don't know. That to me seemed more of a physical ship, and some of the stuff we saw zooming by before we had the lights on the ground in 2020 were more like translucent,
Mm.
light ships. That one when I was 17 it definitely felt physical in a sense. And, I've talked about this with people recently. When we get to this level of consciousness and AI and all this stuff, from what you hear is some of these ships are made of light and their consciousness, and they're
Yes.
actually connected to the
Yeah.
beings. They're actually more of an extension of the being rather than a physical, hey,
Yeah.
pop the hood, I'm going to
See, that
go
that makes
start
sense to
up
me.
the
That
mothership.
makes sense to me. That at that level, our aspects, us, at that level, would be able to formulate and create an extension of ourself, and that makes a lot of sense to me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why you see some of those videos where there's literally, it looks like there's a person floating up in the sky and they're
Mm.
morphing and
Yeah.
shape shifting and kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Like that looks to me more like someone popping in from a portal in a dimensional gateway. And I don't know how much of this stuff may be off planet or out of the
Mm.
dome. Or
Mm.
I believe this is more of a holographic matrix. And a lot of the stuff that I see in the way the world is portrayed now is a lot of the fun shit that I would see when I was a child, right? Like I talked about Star Wars and all these different things, and like, you know, ninja type stuff and karate and energy manipulation and chi balls and all that. That just sounds like a lot of fun to me. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's literally the world that I live in now. And I make fun out of it, even the way that, because I make orgonite pendants, and that was one thing that you and Rion had discussed, and I was like, oh man, I wish I could have got in there and like helped Rion out with what we're actually creating when we make these things, because all they're doing, in my opinion, and what my intention is creating an amplified harmonic field
Right.
of natural oscillations. And the more you play in that, the more you find harmonic oscillating fields to play in. Up to you as the individual to either be aware, to work with, to play with, to negate, to push away, whatever you want to do with what's available for you. And that's what our choice is. We're in the grand reflection game, we're in the great choice game. What the other part of what I'm doing is, we've been heavily invested in from both light and night. There have been billions and trillions and dollars invested in either the raising up of or the pushing down of our complete whole being. And so if we're that invested, then we must serve some kind of a major part in the whole plethora of universal, multiversal type of energy that's happening. And if, some of the stuff that I've resonated with Rion, and, I've had times where I was going through my own shit when I was by myself in the beginning, and it was nobody. My partner was not on the same page. My family, I had nobody. I was living in the matrix. I was a server. I was a bartender, and I was just navigating. And so some of the worst times, or some of the most conflicting times or challenging times, he would put up a video and it would speak completely to my heart, and he would just say the things. And so the more and more that, and he was a big guide for me. Him and the other guy he was teamed up with, Arcturus Raw, they invited everyone to Sedona on 11/11/11. I don't know if you went there for that, but the 13 crystal skulls or whatever were making a tour.
11,
And
11,
so
11.
that call out that so I got called to Sedona on 11/11/11. And my partner of only a few months said, yeah, I'll go with this crazy guy. He's speaking all this galactic ET shit. It fascinates me. She had just put the word out that she wanted someone that was different.
So that I mean, you were already diving in 2011. And then looking at everything.
By that time, I was like in it to win it.
Right. But I mean, and of course, the 2011, 2012, obviously there was something going on with that. Amanda Bloodworth was here a couple days ago, and she talked about her point came on December 21st, 2012. And then within 10 days, she sold everything and hit the road. But what I was going to ask you is having 10, 11 years, because so much has changed. So much has changed. It used to be every couple of months, and now it's like every day. So what was the truth yesterday is not the ultimate truth today, right? But because I look at this stuff with what I do, and I wonder if the Rion broadcast that you were looking at, or maybe somebody watched Soulogy, or it could be anything, I wonder if it's more to do with people talking about these fantasy or fantastical or other or atypical, unconventional experiences and their own personal truths. If that's what was triggering us all along to wake up more, not so much the details and the narratives and the stories that go with, but the actual going, hey, this dude's talking about stuff that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and there's something in me that wants to, follow this thread. What are your thoughts on that?
So this goes again with part of what this bigger part of the mission is to take that lead. And what it did for me, because what it did is it created a scenario for me, right? It created a scenario for me to resonate with that was kind of more true for me. And the more that I dove deep into it and looked more into myself, I started seeing those codexes within myself. And then it started to, again, like a holographic matrix, hold this resonant frequency or this oscillation within, and you're inside of this toroidal field bubble, and all the beings and everything is within that bubble. And so what you do is internally make the shift, and it creates this new game, this new imagination in your scope of things, and then it resonates through your toroidal field, pings off of the edges, and then bounces back. And as long as you can hold and maintain that oscillation and resonance, it takes a stroke again, and then it pings. And so the more that we can hold this oscillation, we're now pinging and creating this like ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, and we're just a vibration, we're a tone. And so this is where, my next step is being within this cosmic alignment. I'm literally in X marks the spot. I'm the only major city that gets hit with both solar eclipses, and San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the nation. And so we're going from this 7th harmonic oscillation into this 13, which is honoring the 12 that we've experienced, whether it's 12 months, 12 zodiacs, 12 this, 12 that, the incoherency of what 12 represents. We've played in this game. We're about to bring it all, even the 12 star seeds, the 12 crystal skulls, all coming back And when we bring it all back to oneness, it creates that magical number 13, which puts us into the Christos oscillation, which gets us to see each other as the grand reflection, and we get to go clink, 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 and now we're up into a different pattern of this frequency that gets to ride and be more free. And so the solar eclipse X's and that Sedona trip, what came from it was the major phrase was start preparing for the cities of light. Start preparing for the cities of light. And so what that did is in 2012, Amber and I had our anniversary in Comfort, Texas, drove off to Fredericksburg to check out the area, and I saw 753 acres available on the side of the road, and that began the pipe dream. That began me investigating everything it would take to build a coherent, regenerative, off-grid community with giving us space, giving us maker spaces, food. So I took all of the information that needed to go into our own off-grid community and started searching for the people in my community of San Antonio, and then started working with the schools. By 2014, when the shift didn't happen, I said, I got to take this into my own hands, and looked at an empty lot in our neighborhood and began the pipe dream of, hey, I'm going to do it in my own. And I'm building a community garden for communication. I'm going to put the seeds in our mouth. We're going to put our DNA with it. We're spitting that in the ground, and we're going to create a food forest and a place for everyone to gather and have potlucks and everything. And then the next logical thing was go to my children's school, which is a block and a half away, and talk to them about the community garden, and that would help me out. And then they said, well, Harold, gosh darn it, we just won 20 grand from a Spurs team up challenge. We're about to build our own garden. Could you help us? And I said, well, hot dog. And I helped them with that. And by 2017, they were the 7th healthiest school in the nation. They added a full-blown food forest with a 20-foot tall water harvesting cistern, a solar drip irrigation, a butterfly garden. What else? They had added some other things to up the PE time and the cardio. They got rid of junk food for all the students and the faculty. They added the food from the garden in the cafeteria with from our garden area, and then a tower garden right outside of the cafeteria so the children could see multiple ways of growing food. They put it into their curriculum. They had the Boy Scouts or Eagle Scouts come and make this conflict resolution thing on the campus. And guess what? They did in like another school. There's like 3 in Texas that gained this really high notoriety with being within the top 10 of healthy schools in the nation. And I don't know if you're familiar with William B. Travis Elementary School. That's in Corpus.
Yeah. Well,
so I found them too. They're
Travis
on the list.
Elementary.
So Corpus, San Antonio.
Yeah.
They got a garden there.
That's pretty cool.
Are they near where you grew up?
I think that might be a new one.
Yeah.
Because no, it wasn't there when I was there.
Oh, right. Yeah. Possibly. Well,
that's awesome.
So
man.
A lot of synchronicity.
So how do you? So what? So now you have you and your partner, and then you've got how many kids you got in the house?
6.
That's how many?
We got a blended family of 6. Yeah, 3 boys, 3 girls. The boys are all teenagers. I got a 15-year-old.
So how the one that just got busted? So how how does that go to have 2 conscious parents who are open? Because I know you are open, with the children. Are they picking up anything? Are you seeing anything in them? Are they saying anything?
Yeah, I actually see where I was with my 14-year-old daughter consciously. I see where I was with my 10-year-old in my consciousness, and I see where I was when we conceived Violet Ray Sunshine. And there's an actual progression to my oldest is in public school, the other one's in Montessori school, and the other one's in Montessori daycare. And holy moly, that little one lights up a room. And we take them to transformational festivals as much as they want to now. They're getting older and they're not right there at that point.
Right.
The little one loves it because it's just a bunch of beings in their heart space. And holy shit, watching her walk through the crowd, all these adults are just like, they just light up. And she had a blast at Soulogy Fest.
How old is she? 3?
2.
2?
She's 2.
So she really hasn't even
Yeah.
started verbalizing things.
Holy shit, she is getting there.
Yeah, yeah.
She
But I
can
mean, is
talk. She tell like she is right. No, right. I get you.
but
Like
no, no. You like,
expressing what.
yeah. Oh, go ahead. There's a bit of a lag. Um,
Yeah, there is a lag. Like expressing, how she's reading people. Like, hey, I see their higher self.
right, right, right. Well,
Like
yeah,
she's
like
not
some
into
of these.
that yet,
Yeah,
but
like Amanda's kid, the 5-year-old. Like just solid evidence that she's connected and she's seen things, and she tells Amanda, I go to the rainbow world, there's a rainbow cat in the driveway. Amanda can't see it,
nice.
but then
Yeah.
she's lives on this, I think, 8 acres, but she knows all the land because the kid forages. The kid knows over 100 different herbs by sight. 5 years old. And then Amanda's walking by this place because there's only one wild plum tree on the whole part of that mountain or whatever it is. She's walking by someplace the other day, and there's a whole grove of plum trees that she swears were not there. So, these things
Right.
that these kids can kind of bring us into, and given the way that she was conceived, I'm just wondering if you're going to be hearing things from her like, "Hey, I'm from this other planet. I came here to do whatever, or I see this or I see that." It sounds like she would be a
I'm
prime candidate.
expecting some. I'm expecting some eye-opening things from her.
Yeah.
I feel she was a prime reason why they came so close to us. Um, She plays a big part in this. I mean, the whole conception story that, that night that we did that was more of a ceremony that we were having. If I'm not mistaken, we were doing it for my birthday, which is a portal date. And we had 2 other couples here that we were all just gonna have fun. And, my good buddy Jeremy Yaws, he's a DJ, and he's like telling the other ones, he's like, they're gonna disappear. Don't worry about it. They'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, me and my partner, we are very passionate with each other, and that's what keeps this like motor driven. We're 11 years in, and we're just like bunnies, and we love each other, and we stay in bliss. It's part of my pattern it's in my human design. I'm a sexual being. I'm passionate, and part of my design that I've discovered, I've listened to people talk about it. They're like, oh, this design with this channel, people can just be around them and be more, they'll conceive. And I'm like, oh shit. The other 2 girls that were there that night both had children, got conceived 6 months later. Not that night, not by me, by their partners, but they both 6 months later conceived, had children. One of my friends, Travis, he came by and brought his daughter, 6-month-old Ellie, after I just seen her for the first time. I'm like, oh my God, finally get to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And I gave him the whole download on what my plan is with utilizing these cosmic alignments, and told him that your family is going to have forever freedom and forever land. Like, y'all are always going to be taken care of. I've got you forever. I love you immensely. You're my soul brother. And 5 days later, from walking away from that, he passed away. Malpractice in the hospital, but he came back to me in ashes and custom pendants, and his family dropped $2,200 on me the day that I needed it for my personal event that I was throwing, right? We pay dues when we put up these events, and the venues, they want their money, like half of it down, a month or 2 before or whatever. And I had that month prior, I had to put some money down, and I didn't have it. I was just in a full trust mode, as we've been, a lot of us, and just like, fuck it. Hey,
No
it's going to
kidding.
come in. And she shows up with his ashes. So she got Travis in her hand, and she's like talking about how many pendants her family's ordering. She's counting them up, and I'm like, ching, 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 ching. I'm like, well, dude, I charge at least $100 each, because they're custom, and I'm going to do all this work for them. And I'm like, haha, they didn't give you the money, did they? And she's like, no, but I got it. I was like, what? Are you blissing me today? And she says, no, this is kind of a big deal. I'm sorry I didn't come earlier, but this has been hard for me, because imagine, I have Travis with me here, her partner,
Hmm.
who passed away out of the blue, who was to ride with us through to this whole plan, and be there and dance with us, and he's a dear brother. And Shit, I have him in a bunch of pendants now. When I was dumping him into my crystal matrix, he was like, put me in there and put me in there. And I'm like, dude, but I don't know how everybody's going to feel about you being in all their pendants. And as I start parading him around, they're like, I don't know, man, that's a little macabre. And I'm like, I know. When I was literally mixing him up, I saw his ashes and bones and fragments of him devices.
Wow. Trippy.
So,
That's trippy.
yeah, it is. So I made another mix just for anybody out there. I made a whole new mix. Travis is all inside one big lump sum, and he's going to go on some DJ equipment with lights and orgone devices. So he's going on a tour with me, and we're going to be dancing, and he'll be there every time we have these events. But I'm making a whole new mix for 2022. That was kind of what he was there for, is not only to gift me with the monetary funds to complete the project with my Mayan Day at a Time celebration, but to also push me to get rid of the mix that I made in 2020 and make a whole new batch of Crystal Matrix for 2022, because we are aligned with those. People need what's this new stuff that's coming in now, which is this Cosmic X. I mean,
so just so everybody has a clear understanding, can you tell everybody about the Cosmic X, and so everybody has
I'm going to skip all this other stuff because that's fine. We don't need to get into that. So this is the Cosmic X, and I found this the day after that CE5 meditation. We were in Kerrville, right here.
Mm-hmm.
I was already in the X,
mm-hmm.
and driving back to San Antonio, we stopped off at that 753 acres while
Right.
Baby Mama and Violet Ray were asleep in the back seat. They must have put him to sleep. They're like, yo, you need to go check on the acreage because it's not available, and that's going to cause you a reroute and cause you to look towards the center. Because I knew about both solar eclipses, but I didn't know about the details of X marks the spot and what's actually in the middle here. And
so that's Kerrville. Where's Austin? Up
Austin is right here.
Okay. So it's the hill country, basically.
Yes, absolutely, all of the hill country. Here, let me turn off this one light over here. It's causing a glare.
So okay, so now in terms of the X itself,
yes.
Does it have a stopping point on the diagonals, or does it continue just to go wrap around the globe?
It doesn't wrap around the globe. It starts above Alaska and comes down Oregon for this first one on 10/14/23 and goes all the way down over the Yucatan. So it does connect to the Mayan ruins,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of a ley line, a telluric ley line that comes up from Guatemala, comes up Mexico, and it splits at Monterrey. Half of it goes to Sedona, and the other half goes to San Antonio, Austin, Enchanted Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a telluric ley line that I found recently that came out in 2012 from the Galactic Free Press. And she says that Enchanted Rock will actually glow slightly green at sunset because it's also piezoelectric, just like
and this other swath, this other eclipse path.
Yes.
That goes.
This is the totality. This is the Mac Daddy. So nobody is paying attention to this one, and that's why San Antonio gets a full hit. And even Corpus Christi is in the direct center. That's why we were doing an activation on 8/8.
Right.
We were doing that in the body of Christ.
Right.
Right. So you got the body of Christ, and then after I discovered the land was sold here, the reroute took me to the middle because I'm extra, and so in the middle is Utopia, Texas.
Right.
And then I said land for sale near Utopia, and it led me to the middle of the middle, Miracle Springs Ranch, 754 acres, 1 acre.
You gained an acre.
The one I was looking at.
And then this swath, as it heads northeast, would go through Arkansas.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so I've been up to 2 different events up there. One was Reconnection Festival right below St. Louis, near Carbondale. It's called, it had a LS Dream is a DJ that added a new thing to his performance, and it's called Light Codes. And so he gets 1,000+ festival goers to lay down and breathe and meditate.
Wow.
And using the concert sound system, he pumps out light codes through the freaking sound system. He did that for the first time at Reconnection Festival. I was backstage washing dishes like a humble little guy, like I was there to do. I was meeting Natalie Rise, who's a reggae artist. I was meeting the production crew, the stage crew, the stage builder, vendors, the whole nine yards, figuring
I've
out
I've seen
how.
that. I've seen Ty do stuff like this in some of his collaborators, where you've got color, you've got the sounds, which are so important, the different
Mhm.
instruments with the sounds, the intention. I've seen it not in with 1,000 people, but I've seen it with 30 people, 20 people.
Right.
And it's a
So
pretty powerful thing.
yes, so this guy, LS Dream,
Uh,
his mix of music is actually perfect for where San Antonio is at. San Antonio is back a little bit with its electronic dance music and some of its stuff. It needs to be unclogged, and that's what we're here to do. So
let's
I'm inviting everyone to meet me at San Antonio for the first solar eclipse and
which
push Christ consciousness.
that's
And I
October
have a,
4th. Yeah, that's October
yeah,
14th,
October, that's a
2023.
year and a day, a
Okay.
year and one day.
So let me ask you. Let's get the because we're getting
Yes.
okay. So let's talk about this. What you know about these two eclipse paths that end up there. Like, what do they mean? What does it mean to the land? What does it mean to the time? Does it signal anything? Is it just an aberration? Of course, we know it's not, but I mean, what does it mean to you with the research that you've done and what you know about it?
Todd, it means whatever we make it to be.
Right.
It is up to us. This is why I've been so adamant about wanting to get this word out because this is the choice.
Now,
I'm asked
what word do you want to get out? What word do you want to get out?
to meet me. I'm going to do this thing with my crew regardless if anybody else comes along. Just like the harmonic convergence of 1987, we have a time and a space to meet. This is why the first one, not too many people were paying attention. So right now we have a whole team that's working on the marketing plan, and we're using solar eclipse glasses
Now, are
to
you
bring in the revenue. Go ahead.
okay? Okay, so what you're basically saying, and you're saying much more than that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just
Right.
going to use 3D terms so I can get
Yes.
so I can have some clarity. So basically, what you're doing is you're aligning an event with this natural event, and in the X marks the spot. So maybe like a festival, and so you're
Citywide.
citywide, the entire city.
Citywide fiesta, the entire city. The convention center, downtown. As I've been walking
So
around
are
downtown.
you going to go after the convention center as the venue?
Yep.
Okay, and have you already looked into it? I'm just curious because that must cost an arm and a leg.
I have, and I'm looking to reach out to Neil Gore with Portal to Ascension and the artist, and this whole story and what these bring in money, because these are gonna. I've done a research, so much research, and so this is. I'm gonna put this all together in a very clean PowerPoint. We are getting the team together. We're marketing this. This is a very, very big worldwide endeavor that I am heralding in. And so we have two timelines. We got a year and one day. I'm asking people to purchase the glasses. For me, we're putting holographic stickers on the top. I'm working on that now. These are going to bring us the money. I'm not charging an arm and a leg. I'm going to charge what you would probably pay anyway. And then we're going to sell them everywhere. That's going to bring the money funneled through Infinite U, which turns into the nonprofit. It's a 508. We are looking at 630 acres adjacent to Enchanted Rock right now. It's available for sale, and
So
it
are
has been
you?
waiting for us.
So is the event that you're planning in San Antonio, is that tied to purchasing the land in near Utopia?
Not your near Utopia. That one
Well, I mean,
actually
I mean, yeah, but I mean, is that what
well,
you're trying to do? Is help yourself bridge your group bridge to purchase land?
not just us, but there's a lot of people already with land purchases and with we're guiding everyone that wants to be a part to pull their resources and begin to purchase land.
Mm-hmm.
And I, through these clickbait of the solar eclipse glasses that will sell by the millions, we're guiding people that are effectively wanting to leave the world that is guiding them to go and
Right.
co-create the cities of light. And so
Right.
we're creating a coherent way of building a rainbow bridge from that into guiding everyone to their different off-grid communities.
Right.
And we're putting together harmonics within each off-grid community, like a
Um,
KOA, like a RV,
right.
you know.
Right.
Yeah.
What I've noticed, and we've talked about this on the show over the years, because a lot of people have tried to initiate, community living.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend of mine that's doing it in I think North Carolina right now, and she does some videos, and wherever she's at, and I don't know if she's with 6 people or 60 people, but I can just tell because I know her that there's some synergy there. You can feel it. But most of the people I've talked to that have attempted this have had an issue, and that issue has been, in my opinion, the egoic. So I'm just curious as to, as part of your research, because it sounds great, but
Yeah.
if you got a bunch of people in there, as I've heard stories from people that have done this,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, say it's the person that owns the land. Well, I own the land, so here's what we're going to do. So immediately there's not this equality. Is this
Right.
something that you're building into like the core values or the mission statement or vision statement of what you're doing?
Yes. So I don't necessarily need to or desire to build all the communities. I know there's going to be different nuances within, but what I am guiding them to do, because I've seen a lot of these people that have land, they're inviting every Tom, Dick, and Harry in, and then so they're getting a lot of conflict and stuff. And so what I'm working to do is to create the physical, tangible rainbow bridge. And so I think there should be a layover somewhere for people to find their healing center. So whether it's Soulogy Fest or a one-on-one with this person or another transformational festival or ecstatic dance or whatever, so we can find our resting state as a being. And so we're going to be collecting data. Like the world has shown, they're free to give up their data. So if they're free to give up their data, why don't we put it into a database that's going to help them and say, look, we're going to help you find the place that's going to help you find how to communicate, how to absorb information and find your worth. So that way you could find your community. And then there's going to be temporary layovers. Also, we're working on 3D Oculus glasses because there will be some type of a metaverse type of a scenario going on, whether it's good or bad or whatever. So if we come in with the alternative to let people go into these communities and actually see the lay of the land, the topography, the electrical,
Yeah.
and also see some of the community members, all real things, and see, oh, I'm going to meet Kimberly. She's my liaison when I go into so-and-so community where, they still eat meat there a little bit, but more or less they're vegan and they like to dance. Or I'm going to go to this other one where they do textiles. And so we can create these networks. And so this is going to take a lot of us coming together. And so that's why I'm asking everyone, just fucking everyone, come into a major city. Yeah, I'm not going to invite everyone to these communities. That's not where I'm trying to take people yet. There is a layover. People need to get vetted before they can be officially allowed to go.
But that's where
in a sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's why I say it to me. Yeah. Like when I got the download with Soulogy, I understand, and I wrote the first when I went to the group and created it and wrote it out, and it's still the same words today. Which was basically, this is not an organization. There's no doctrine. There's no dogma. And everyone is invited. So, like, over the years, we had a lot of admins. We had a lot of different initiatives, especially when we were smaller. And we never put in the questions to come into the group. We never made rules for the group. We trusted that openness, because to me, that's the real trick. And even with the things that we've been able to do since then, every time we try to structure it, it just doesn't work. And I have a feeling that the times are obviously changing, and that the third energy, let's say, or the Holy Spirit, or whatever you want to call it, universal energy, is not. Well, first of all, it's not going to allow anything that has a dualistic, component in it. And secondly, it's asking us to make these things in a totally new way. I look at it as reflective of the universe itself. So that's why I always say adding more frequencies to an ever-expanding vibration. But I'm curious because I look at things a lot as metaphors. I know because we all get downloads. We think we got to go do this and that and that. People heard me say this over the years about my own plans that so many of them don't materialize, but they do at some point. And I think that's kind of where we're headed. We're working on some stuff over here that falls right in line with what you're doing, to include animation, virtual reality, imprinting through artistic expression, particularly
NFTs, quantum art.
Well, or really quantum consciousnesses. So in other words, if I go in and create a universe, create an avatar, create a universe, then I can create whatever I want, right? Temples, whatever it is, right? And unicorns, whatever it is. But the idea being that as we put that into form, then it takes on, more potential possibility, probability of the actual manifestation of it. I don't know. I find it quite fascinating. This whole the virtual thing, and so this is all very cool, man. I think. And now you and your partner have been together 11 years, going through the meat of what this transition we call ascension. There's a lot of talk about masculine and feminine, male and female. Chronologically, the way the energies have come, the triggers, challenges, obstacles, alignments, expansions that occur through these conscious relationships. And obviously, if you guys are having the conscious copulation that you do, then I know that must transfer into the rest of your shared experience. What's it like to go through, especially with a house full of kids, and be on point? Because there's no way you can be on point and she's not with you, because you're all the way in. But yeah, what's it like going through the fluctuations over the years, and kind of where do you stand? What?
Shit, it's rough, man. Oh my gosh. It is like some of the most. I'm going to take out to the garage, to my studio, is what my friend said I should call it. The children are going to be heading in here in a minute, and you'll hear a little yelling and babies and all that stuff. But it has been a rough thing, and we're still going through it. She's got her own personal things that she is playing with, and I sit as a reflection, and as best I can, I try to word myself. Let's go back to Reconnection Festival. When I went out there, I had done something where I didn't communicate with her. It was a group of us that were going, and we stopped at a hotel to just catch some Z's and then head back on the road. And I did a bulk of the driving in my vehicle. And there was a pull-out couch that I felt it had that big bar, and I was like, fuck that, not sleeping on there. And I said, Rashima, if you want, you lay under the covers, I'm going to lay on the covers, fucking get some Z's, and let's go. She's like, good, I'm tired, I don't even move. I was like, perfect. I woke up the next day, told my partner, hey, this is the sleeping arrangement. She's like, what? You didn't tell me? Her, and I don't trust her, and all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, that's one of our friends. How do you not trust her? And this is like that's a sister, and we, all these things. And so while I was there, we went through a very big heartache because there was no cell phone reception. So every chance I got to communicate, we were going in and out. And she's like, but just answer my question. I'm like, and so not until I got back, because she started looking at my human design and how I give and take information, and looking at her human design and how she gives and takes information. And so instead of her not being able to tell her side of the story, very coherently or harmonic for me, she wrote it down. And she said, hold on, before we get into it, I'm going to write it down. And so we had this really good conversation. And so we can communicate a lot better now that we know each other.
So the writing down helped you.
For her, for us to communicate.
It sounds like it helped the both of you.
It did a lot.
That's a good little tidbit. And I think too, because everything's changing so rapidly. Even the way we communicate, even the way we comprehend, even the way we understand, even the empathy that we have or lack of. You know, I mean, there's just like everything's becoming amplified. So, yeah, we should get you and her on here and have a discussion and talk about this. Talk about what it's like.
You'd be busting her out of her shell, and I think that would be great for her. And
well, tell her if she wants to. We'd love to do it anytime. And you and I can do this again. We have a lot.
With her. Yeah. With her being a projector, this is part of the human design and which I've discovered is to be invited. And that's what makes things go really well for a projector. If they try to give their input without being invited, they're going to be that person that everybody has always told since they were young, who asked you for your
Yeah.
So that's one of my comedic jokes with when I get into this, like, I'm going to be one of the 5D comedians. And I'll run a human design thing and astrology. You know, we'll talk about all these things and be like, yeah, so who out here is a Taurus and why are you so stubborn or whatever? You know, we'll just run funny shit all day long. But yeah, so thank you for inviting her. That's what she would need to see.
Yeah, tell her. Yeah, and then you and I can do this again. We got, down the road, we got a lot of people lined up to come on and. Yeah. And just on that note, anyone that's watching, we will get back with you. A lady was on a couple days ago. I think it was 6 or 7 months. But yeah, there's no science to it. I'm kind of doing it by myself now because, like I had to do a couple of weeks ago. The solitude thing. Morgan's doing it. Monique's doing it. So I'm just gonna try to do the best I can. But yeah, we got a lot of people coming on, but we'll do it again. And and just, keep me updated as to what you're doing, and, we'll pick our spots and everything. And I look forward to meeting you in person and your partner and all your family.
Same, Todd. And I appreciate you in every single way possible. And, it's an honor to, for us to finally get to do this. I'm elated. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. And we're putting together a PowerPoint, and I'm going on a transformational festival, healing festival tour next year. So I will definitely keep you in tune. And as we get funds in, I want to try to funnel that through to your Patreon and help support you in any way that I can. And, that's what I'm here for.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And on that note, I just want to tell everybody we appreciate the love and support and contributions, because we couldn't do this every day, and it's not always easy.
It's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so love always in all ways.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, brother. Peace out.
All right.
You take care, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.